tap in question is not governed by 220.41 tap rules. This is because the tap in question does not meet the definition of a tap as defined in National Electrical Code section 220.41 because it is not run from a feeder. The tap is fed directly from the service conductors, which are located upstream of the 1200 amp disconnect. National Electrical Code section 220.41 states that a tap shall not be less than the size specified in table 220.41 for the connected load. A tap is a feeder. Since the tap is not considered a feeder, it is not governed by the tap rules in 220.41. In conclusion, the tap from the service conductors to the new meter is considered a service feed and is not governed by the tap rules in National Electrical Code section 220.41. To elaborate further, let's delve into the specifics of service conductors, feeders, and taps, and how the National Electrical Code, or NEC, distinguishes between them. Understanding these distinctions is crucial for ensuring safe and code-compliant electrical installations. Service conductors are the conductors that run from the serving utilities infrastructure to the service disconnecting means. This is typically the main breaker or disconnect switch in a building. These conductors carry the entire electrical load for the building and are sized accordingly. Feeders are conductors that extend from the service disconnecting means to various distribution points within a building, such as panel boards or individual loads. Feeders are essentially the trunk lines of the electrical distribution system, carrying power from the service entrance to different areas or equipment. A tap is a short run of conductors that branches off from a feeder to supply power to a specific load or device. Taps are typically smaller in ampacity than the feeder they are connected to, and they are subject to specific rules in the NEC to ensure they are properly protected against overcurrent. National Electrical Code section 220 covers branch circuit, feeder, and service calculations. This section provides the requirements for determining the minimum size of conductors and overcurrent protection devices for various types of electrical loads. National Electrical Code section 220.41 specifically addresses tap conductors for feeders. This section outlines the conditions under which tap conductors are permitted and the requirements for their size and protection. The general rule is that tap conductors must have an ampacity sufficient for the load they serve and must be protected by an overcurrent device at their point of termination. There are exceptions to this rule, allowing for smaller tap conductors under certain circumstances, such as when the tap conductors are no more than 10 feet long and are protected from physical damage, or when the tap conductors supply a specific type of equipment, such as a motor. In the scenario described, the tap is taken directly from the service conductors upstream of the main disconnect. This means that the tap is not connected to a feeder, but rather directly to the source of power. Therefore, the tap does not meet the definition of a tap conductor as defined in National Electrical Code section 220.41, and the tap rules in that section do not apply. Instead, the tap is considered a service feed, and it must comply with the requirements for service conductors in the NEC. This includes ensuring that the tap conductors are properly sized for the load they serve and are protected by an overcurrent device at their point of termination. In addition to the specific requirements for tap conductors in National Electrical Code section 220.41, there are other relevant sections of the NEC that may apply to the installation described. For example, National Electrical Code section 230 covers service entrances, and it provides requirements for the size and installation of service conductors, overcurrent protection, and grounding. National Electrical Code section 250 covers grounding and bonding, and it provides requirements for ensuring that the electrical system is properly grounded to prevent electric shock hazards. National Electrical Code section 310 covers conductors for general wiring, and it provides requirements for the ampacity installation and installation of conductors. When installing a tap from service conductors, it is important to consider all of these applicable sections of the NEC to ensure that the installation is safe and code compliant. It is also important to consult with a qualified electrical inspector to ensure that the installation meets all local requirements. To further clarify the application of the NEC in this situation, let's consider some specific examples. Suppose the new meter being supplied by the tap has a load of 50 amps. In this case, the tap conductors would need to have an ampacity of at least 50 amps. The overcurrent protection device at the point of termination of the tap conductors would also need to be rated at 50 amps or less. If the tap conductors were run in conduit, they would need to be sized according to the ampacity tables in National Electrical Code section 310.15. The type of insulation used for the conductors would also need to be suitable for the environmental conditions in which they are installed. If the tap conductors were run outdoors, they would need to be suitable for wet locations. If the tap conductors were exposed to sunlight, they would need to be sunlight resistant. In addition to the size and type of conductors, the method of connection is also important. The tap conductors must be connected to the service conductors using listed and labeled connectors that are suitable for the purpose. The connections must be made in a manner that ensures a secure and reliable electrical connection. The connections must also be protected from physical damage. If the connections are made in a junction box, the junction box must be properly sized and installed. The junction box must also be accessible for inspection and maintenance. In summary, when installing a tap from service conductors, it is important to consider all of the applicable requirements of the National Electrical Code. This includes the size and type of conductors, the overcurrent protection, the method of connection, and the grounding and bonding. By following these requirements, you can ensure that the installation is safe and code compliant. To provide an even more comprehensive understanding, let's explore the specific definitions of key terms within the National Electrical Code that are pertinent to this scenario. These definitions will help solidify the distinctions between service conductors, feeders, and taps. Service conductors. According to the NEC, service conductors are the conductors from the service point to the service disconnecting mean. The service point is defined as the point of connection between the facilities of the serving utility and the premises wiring. The service disconnecting means is the main breaker or disconnect switch that is used to disconnect the entire electrical service from the building. Feeders. Feeders are defined as all circuit conductors between the service equipment, the source of a separately derived system, or other power supply source and the final branch circuit overcurrent device. In simpler terms, feeders are the conductors that carry power from the service entrance to various distribution points within a building. Taps. A tap conductor is a conductor that is connected to a feeder conductor, but does not extend the full length of the feeder. Tap conductors are typically used to supply power to individual loads or devices. Overcurrent protection. Overcurrent protection is the protection of electrical circuits against excessive current, which could cause overheating and damage to equipment. Overcurrent protection is typically provided by fuses or circuit breakers. Grounding. Grounding is the connection of electrical circuits to the earth, which provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the overcurrent protection device and preventing electric shock hazards. Bonding. Bonding is the connection of metallic parts of an electrical system to create a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. Bonding is essential for ensuring that the overcurrent protection device will trip quickly in the event of a fault. In the context of the original question, the tap from the service conductors to the new meter does not meet the definition of a tap conductor because it is not connected to a feeder. Instead, it is connected directly to the service conductors. Therefore, the tap is considered a service feed, and it must comply with the requirements for service conductors in the NEC. These requirements include ensuring that the tap conductors are properly sized for the load they serve, that they are protected by an overcurrent device at their point of termination, and that they are properly grounded and bonded. It's also important to note that the specific requirements for service conductors can vary depending on the voltage and ampacity of the service, as well as the type of building being served. For example, the requirements for service to a single-family dwelling are different from the requirements for a service to a commercial building. Therefore, it is essential to consult with a qualified electrical inspector to ensure that the installation meets all applicable requirements. To further illustrate the practical implications of these rules, consider the following scenarios. Scenario 1: a small office building has a 200 amp service. A new tenant wants to install a separate meter to monitor their energy usage. A tap is taken from the service conductors upstream of the main disconnect to supply the new meter. In this scenario, the tap is considered a service feed, and it must comply with the requirements for service conductors in the NEC. The tap conductors must be sized to carry the load of the new meter, and they must be protected by an overcurrent device at their point of termination. The tap conductors must also be properly grounded and bonded. Scenario 2: a large industrial facility has a 4000 amp service. A new piece of equipment requires a dedicated feeder. A tap is taken from an existing feeder to supply the new equipment. In this scenario, the tap is considered a feeder tap, and it must comply with the tap rules in National Electrical Code section 220.41. The tap conductors must be sized according to the requirements of that section, and they must be protected by an overcurrent device at their point of termination. The tap conductors must also be properly grounded and bonded. These scenarios highlight the importance of understanding the distinctions between service conductors, feeders, and taps, and of applying the correct rules from the National Electrical Code. By following these rules, you can ensure that electrical installations are safe, code compliant, and reliable. In addition to the technical aspects of these rules, it is also important to consider the safety implications. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is essential to take precautions to protect yourself from electric shock hazards. Always energize circuits before working on them, and use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as insulated gloves and safety glasses. If you are not qualified to perform electrical work, hire a licensed electrician. It is also important to be aware of the potential for arc flash. Arc flash is a dangerous electrical explosion that can occur when a fault occurs in electrical equipment. Arc flash can cause severe burns, blindness, and even death. To protect yourself from arc flash, wear appropriate arc-rated clothing and equipment, and follow safe work practices. By taking these safety precautions, you can minimize the risk of electrical accidents and ensure that electrical work is performed safely. In conclusion, understanding the distinctions between service conductors, feeders, and taps, and applying the correct rules from the National Electrical Code is essential for ensuring safe, code-compliant, and reliable electrical installations. By following these rules and taking appropriate safety precautions, you can protect yourself and others from electrical hazards. The application of the National Electrical Code, specifically regarding service taps and feeder taps, can be complex and often requires careful consideration of the specific installation circumstances. To further assist in understanding these concepts, let's address some common misconceptions and frequently asked questions. Misconception 1: all taps are governed by National Electrical Code section 240.21. This is incorrect. National Electrical Code section 240.21 deals with the overcurrent protection of tap conductors, but it primarily applies to feeder taps. As discussed earlier, taps taken directly from service conductors are considered service feeds and are subject to the requirements for service conductors, not the tap rules in National Electrical Code section 240.21. Misconception 2: the length of the tap conductor is the only factor determining whether tap rules apply. While the length of the tap conductor is a factor in determining whether certain tap rules apply, it is not the only factor. The location of the tap, that is, whether it is taken from a feeder or from service conductors, is the primary determinant of which set of rules applies. Frequently asked question 1: how do I determine the correct size of the tap conductors? The correct size of the tap conductors depends on the load they will be serving and the applicable requirements of the National Electrical Code. For service feeds, the tap conductors must be sized to carry the load of the meter, and they must be protected by an overcurrent device at their point of termination. For feeder taps, the tap conductors must be sized according to the requirements of National Electrical Code section 240.21, which takes into account the length of the tap conductor, the ampacity of the feeder, and the overcurrent protection of the feeder. Frequently asked question 2: what type of overcurrent protection is required for tap conductors? The type of overcurrent protection required for tap conductors depends on the type of tap and the applicable requirements of the National Electrical Code. For service feeds, the tap conductors must be protected by an overcurrent device at their point of termination. The overcurrent device must be sized to protect the tap conductors from overload and short circuit. For feeder taps, the overcurrent protection requirements are specified in National Electrical Code Section 240.21. Frequently asked question 3: are there any restrictions on the location of tap conductors? Yes, there are restrictions on the location of tap conductors. Tap conductors must be installed in a safe and accessible location, and they must be protected from physical damage. Tap conductors must also be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. To further expand on the complexities of applying the National Electrical Code to service and feeder taps, let's consider the specific requirements for overcurrent protection, conductor ampacity, and grounding and bonding. Overcurrent protection. As previously mentioned, overcurrent protection is a critical aspect of electrical safety. For service conductors, National Electrical Code Section 230.90 generally requires overcurrent protection to be provided at the point where the service conductors enter the building. This overcurrent protection must have a rating not higher than the ampacity of the service conductors. When a tap is made from service conductors to supply a separate meter, the tap conductors must also be protected by an overcurrent device. The rating of this overcurrent device must be sized to protect the tap conductors from overload and short circuit, and it must not exceed the ampacity of the tap conductors. For feeder taps, National Electrical Code Section 240.21 provides specific rules for overcurrent protection. These rules vary depending on the length of the tap conductor and the ampacity of the feeder. In general, the tap conductor must be protected by an overcurrent device at its point of termination, and the rating of this overcurrent device must not exceed the ampacity of the tap conductor. Conductor ampacity. The ampacity of a conductor is the maximum current that the conductor can carry continuously under specified conditions of use without exceeding its temperature rating. The ampacity of a conductor is determined by several factors, including the size of the conductor, the type of insulation, the ambient temperature, and the number of conductors in a raceway or cable. National Electrical Code Section 310.15 provides tables that list the ampacities of various types of conductors under different conditions. When sizing tap conductors, it is essential to ensure that the conductors have sufficient ampacity to carry the load they will be serving. For service feeds, the tap conductors must have an ampacity equal to or greater than the load of the meter. For feeder taps, National Electrical Code Section 240.21 provides specific rules for sizing the tap conductors. Grounding and bonding. Grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the overcurrent protection device and preventing electric shock hazards. Bonding connects metallic parts of an electrical system to create a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. National Electrical Code Section 250 provides detailed requirements for grounding and bonding. For service conductors, National Electrical Code Section 250.24 requires the service-neutral conductor to be grounded. This grounding connection must be made at the service disconnecting means. When a tap is made from service conductors to supply a separate meter, the tap conductors must also be grounded. The grounding connection must be made in accordance with the requirements of National Electrical Code Section 250. For feeder taps, National Electrical Code Section 250 provides specific rules for grounding and bonding. These rules vary depending on the type of feeder and the type of equipment being served. In general, all metallic parts of the electrical system must be bonded together to create a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. It is crucial to remember that the National Electrical Code is a complex and constantly evolving document. The information provided here is intended for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for consulting the NEC itself or seeking the advice of a qualified electrical professional. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and any applicable local codes before performing any electrical work.